Arsenal are very, very serious in their pursuit for Noni Madueke from Chelsea. So much so to the anguish of a section of Arsenal fans. Well, welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. I wish to say thank you to all our new community members that have subscribed to the channel, but also thank you to our regulars, semi-regulars, and the non-regulars that do come and check out all our content under the videos, the short sections. Those who join us every single day for our live broadcasts every single morning and night. Thank you so much for being part of the Football Tribe UG community as we continue to bring you the latest from the world of transfers, the Premier League updates, and beyond for as long as it involves football. So let's get this one started because Arsenal are seriously pursuing a deal for 23-year-old England forward or winger Noni Madueke. Now, Arsenal's pursuit for Noni Madueke is one that has caused a bit of stir in the Arsenal fan base. Some are okay with him, others entirely not. Others are sort of irritated by even the idea that Arsenal want to sign Noni Madueke. Some Chelsea fans are happy to see Madueke leave because it gives them money to reinvest elsewhere in other players, maybe Muhammad Kudus, or maybe it will be somebody else, or it will be Malik Fofana from Olympic Lyon, who knows. But on the side of Arsenal fans, I must say it is not looking like an exciting signing for a good number of Arsenal fans. I can't say majority because I do not speak for the majority, but from my observation, not many are really looking forward to it. Others are yet to come to terms with it. Others do not know what to make of it. I, for one, am on the fences on this one. But some people, some extremists, have gone ahead to say if Arsenal sign Noni Madueke, then somebody needs to be sacked at Arsenal. So who do you sack? The sporting director, his assistant, or the head of recruitment, who is James Wells, or Mikel Arteta? I do not think we've reached those extremes. But hear me out, Arsenal fans. I think for me, the bone I've had to pick with those opposed to the transfer is one, they are not objectively looking at it. Many of them are biased about the idea of a transfer of Noni Madueke from Chelsea to Arsenal, simply because he will be another Chelsea player joining Arsenal. Two, simply because they think Noni Madueke is a Chelsea reject, which is not the case. I do not want to believe so. He is a player that they have in their ranks. They are not looking to move him on, but they are open to offers. Same way Arsenal have Gabriel Martinelli. They are not ready to sell, but they could be willing to listen to offers if the right transfer fee came in for him. We know Saudi Pro League clubs are interested. We know Bayern Munich are interested in Gabriel Martinelli. So that's the kind of situation that you find yourselves with the hands on. So majority of those that are opposed to the signing are opposed to the idea that he is coming from Chelsea than who the player actually is. Because if, let's say, Noni Madueke was coming from, let's say, Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain, maybe even PSV Eindhoven, where he came from to join Chelsea, or maybe if he was coming from Aston Villa, maybe if he was coming from Everton, or maybe if he was coming from Manchester United, they wouldn't be as opposed to the idea as such. Let's not forget, we Arsenal fans, myself inclusive, have been, arguing for all, for all intents and purposes that Arsenal need a backup for Bukayo Saka because he plays so many minutes and so many games without rest. And last season, he suffered that hamstring injury that kept him out of action for 3 months. Now, we've been clamoring for a backup for Bukayo Saka. Now that Arsenal are weighing their options and considering Noni Madueke as that backup player, left-footed, winger, England international, only 23 years of age. Of course, his numbers do not say as much of him, but he's shown signs of progress because he joined Chelsea. I think that was in 2023. I think that was January. And then he's played 67 games so far in the Premier League alone. Scored 13 goals and provided, I think, about 5 assists, which is a combined goal involvement of 18 in 67 games. That's not a convincing number. That's not a good number. But I think for the Arsenal scouts, for the Arsenal analytics team, I'm sure they've seen perhaps enough to reach a consensus to say maybe there's more to Noni Madueke than his numbers are really telling us in terms of goals and assists. And maybe when you look at his ball carries, his dribbles, and things of that nature, that there is a lot more to his story than what the numbers just say about him. So that's why they've reached to that conclusion that out of all the alternatives, possibly that they may have had to consider over the course of the long summer, then Noni Madueke is the most plausible candidate. Then two, does it have to do with the finances? I do not know, but at least let's not be opposed to the idea because of where the player is coming from, but because of the caliber of the player. Remember, he is coming as a Bukayo Saka backup. Now, would we want somebody much better than Noni Madueke? Most definitely, yes. But as you argue against the idea of signing Noni Madueke, the question I put to you is, who would be your chosen or preferred alternative? Now, some people have gone on to argue that Arsenal already have Ethan Nwaneri within their ranks. Well and good. That's without a doubt. Is he a very exciting player? More than I can speak for him. But let's look at it this way again. Ethan Nwaneri, very good player. Is he enough to be Bukayo Saka's backup over the course of an entire season? I'm certainly not convinced, really, because while he's a very exciting player, we've seen him in games where he's fallen short and where we needed to, break defenses, low blocks, and things of that nature. I do significantly remember him in Arsenal's loss against Newcastle. I think that 1-0 loss, possibly in the Premier League, I stand to be corrected, where he was played and things didn't click for him. Pretty much like they didn't click for majority of the members in that team. So, yeah, he's a very good player, only 18 years of age, by the way, who's still under contract negotiations with the club. Apparently, he is demanding for guaranteed playing time for him to renew. Otherwise, there's a lot of interest from him from a lot of European giants, including Chelsea, who have made inquiries about him and are closely monitoring his situation. Now, if you're Ethan Nwaneri, let's say, and your objective is to get more game time, do you think, honestly speaking, that you would get more game playing time at Chelsea than you would at Arsenal? I'm certainly not convinced to believe so. And maybe you would get it at a lesser team, or maybe at a team like Borussia Dortmund. There's a good chance. Are you going to get it at Real Madrid? I'm not convinced so. Are you Lamine Yamal? I do not think you're the same talent to sort of be making the kinds of demands that are being reported that he is apparently making, and setting all sorts of ultimatums. I'm certainly not inclined to believe. Is he a very exciting player? Without a doubt. Can Arsenal afford to lose him? I always say there's no player bigger than a club. If he doesn't want to stay, let's not force him to stay. That's it. He must want to stay as well. Of course, he must have looked around at Maslow's career and said, look, he's had more game time than me, but also he's probably delivered more than me, or perhaps he's gotten a big bumper contract out of that, and I'm slightly getting lesser terms as compared to his, and yet I believe we are equally of, the same talent, although we play different roles in the team, and he's looking for something similar. I do understand that part, but like I said, he must want to stay. If he doesn't want to stay, then there's no reason for keeping a player that doesn't want to stay. You remember Omari Hudson? He didn't want to stay. He chose to go to Chelsea. Then he didn't even, how many games did he play in a Chelsea jersey before he moved on to Ipswich Town? And of course, there are Premier League clubs now that are interested in signing him from Ipswich Town, but until he gets that move, he's going to be playing in the Championship after playing only one season in the Premier League. So the grass isn't always greener out there, but also, I do not think Arsenal should be held at ransom or at ultimatums by an 18-year-old who I do not certainly believe is the caliber of Lamine Yamal. He is maybe below Lamine Yamal. So that's how I feel about it. Is he sufficient to be Bukayo Saka's backup? I'm not really convinced that he is enough. He is good to sort of fill in the gap some games here and there, but over an entire, extended campaign, the way we know how long it can be, I'm certainly not convinced. And even be that of it may, even if Bukayo Saka, let's say, got injured for another 3 months, God forbid, next season, it would again benefit Arsenal to have Ethan Nwaneri available alongside another player, whether it's Noni Madueke or somebody else. So the question I put to Arsenal fans is, who are the alternatives that you are suggesting that Arsenal should possibly be looking at as opposed to Noni Madueke? Because I, for one, I can't read any of my fingertips. I've been trying to really look around the Premier League, telling to myself, who would you, if you are Arsenal, who would you look to bring in? If you are Arsenal, to bring in that role. I'm sure he wasn't their primary candidate, but again, they've done their homework. And if he does join Arsenal eventually, I'll welcome the deal for as long as it's not too expensive. I think anything beyond £35 million will be an overpayment for Noni Madueke, even though he's still a very young player, still on a very long-term contract at Chelsea, because he signed a 7.5-year contract when he joined them. I think that was in January 2023. So really, in that kind of assessment. So let's not be opposed to the idea of where he is coming from, because we've signed so many Chelsea players over the years. Some who have not really worked out, others have sort of, it's a 50-50. Maybe some have worked out, depending on how you view it. I think Peter Cech has worked out, but what we did witness in Baku in 2019, I think he worked out well. I think Jorginho, that was fair enough. I think David Luiz wasn't the worst of players, given where we were at the time when he joined. William Bogues de Silva, I think one of the worst signings we made from Chelsea. Raheem Sterling, still under the same bucket with William, so and things of that nature, really. But overall, let's not be opposed to where the player is coming from, as compared to what the player is actually able to bring on the table. My question to you, Arsenal fans, as well, another question is that if you had the resources to fill gaps in this current Arsenal team, and they told you go and take your pick of the litter from that Chelsea team, who would be your primary pick? Is it going to be Liam Delap? Is it going to be Joao Pedro? Is it going to be Enzo Fernandez? Is it going to be Moises Caicedo? Levi Colwill? Who would be your pick? Just look at any position and say, this would be my pick. So have that as food for thought. Disabuse yourself of the bias that you're getting the player from Chelsea. Pause that for a second, because it's not really about Chelsea. It's about the players that you are getting from Chelsea, really. Now, of course, we will not always agree with the choices that Arsenal making with that transfers, even if they were coming from elsewhere. But at least let's look at the players and the substance that they are willing or capable of offering on the pitch than where they are coming from. Remember, we also when we signed Fabio Vieira, we were all excited about him when he came in from FC Porto, but it hasn't really worked out. You remember, Albert Milokonga came at the recommendation of Thierry Henry because of his capabilities from from Belgium. It has not worked out. So let's not make it about where he's coming from as opposed to what he is capable of really offering. Maybe the other thing I ought to mention, at least personally, and allow me make this argument. Of course, when you look at the nitty-gritty of it, maybe the transfer suits the player more than it suits Arsenal in one way or the other, because he does look at the situation at Chelsea and says, look, William Estavao is coming, Jamie Gittens is coming in, Joao Pedro has just joined, Liam Delap is here, Nicholas Jackson is here, so many attacking players. Chelsea have more than 13 or probably 14 attacking players. Maybe it does communicate to him that there's going to be less playing time for him, which means a slower progress in his career and development. And yet we are destined for a World Cup year, for which a majority of players are going to want game time, so that they give themselves a chance to be summoned to their respective national teams for the forthcoming FIFA World Cup that is due 2026 in the summer of 2026. So maybe he looks at that and says, maybe I'm willing to go to Arsenal as a backup to Bukayo Saka, but even within that sort of shadow or shade, I'm possibly guaranteed more playing time than I could be guaranteed here at Chelsea come next season, given a number of players that the club is going to have within their ranks. On within their ranks when it comes to attacking players. So maybe you're going to get what you're going to get 3 bad games and then suddenly you're literally dished out to the cold. Maybe you get an injury for a week or two and suddenly you're replaced to almost no return because there's so many numbers in those ranks of Chelsea's attacking players. I know they will get rid of some, but still, I do not think they will be slicing that number by a quarter of it. Anyway, it remains to be seen. So I think the player also has assessed the situation in that direction because it does come to Arsenal knowing he's not going to be a starter, that it is Bukayo Saka going to be a starter. And I do not think him as the idea of him being a backup for Bukayo Saka is the worst of all ideas, really. But but again, let's not be biased, poisoned by where he's coming from, as opposed to what he is capable of offering. Do let me know what your thoughts are really on that kind of mentality, on that kind of thinking around Noni Madueke. If you do agree or disagree with me, just leave me a comment down in the comment section and let's expound on that debate as well in regards to Arsenal's pursuit for Noni Madueke, who has already agreed personal terms with the club on a 5-year contract, is willing to join Arsenal as a backup for Bukayo Saka, but can also, because of his dynamism, even against his preference, can also play at the right wing. So let's wait and see how things would transpire over the course of next week, because it looks like Andre Bata is a very, very busy man as a sporting director at Arsenal. Stay blessed and have yourselves a wonderful rest of your time.